talk about luxury, but luxury as an experience. So I was thinking about this. I don't know, what was the last thing you bought? Can you really remember the object you bought? And I was thinking, no, but I'm sure if I go to your house in your living room and I look at an object and I say, oh, I don't know, I like this vase, it's very nice. You're gonna tell me, yeah, I bought it while I was in a trip and it was a very special thing, it was a very special memory. So there's a lot of research indicating that rather than just purchasing, we have a lot of growth in experiencing economy. So people are gonna still spend money to go out to drink, to have fun, to see an exhibit. So you're kind of experts in it. So I'm gonna start with Gabriella Csanyi. Yes, it's okay. And so she founded Like Locals. And can you tell us a bit more about it? Why did you started this company? What is it about?
Yeah, of course. So Like Locals is a travel tech company, and we focus on creating experiences for our travelers. Our main target market are the millennials. And we create experiences that are local, so we focus on this trend of authentic experiences and local experiences. We created the company because what we see is that this experience economy, authentic travel, local travel has become a huge trend in the past few years, but on the supply side, it's not very well reflected. So still, you see the emergence of marketplaces offering local experiences, authentic experiences, cooking classes, living local with Airbnb, and all of those things. Those are very good, but most of these experiences remain passive. So an experience is defined, I think, by the participation of the customer in it. So the value of it grows as the customer moves from a passive observer to an active participant. Yet, these experiences are still where you might be following now not just a tour guide, but a local guide, but you're still listening and watching, and you're not actively engaged in the experience. And so this is the problem we recognize, and this is where we come in, and the reason we created Like Locals is our experiences are very interactive. So even though there is no human connection, so it's all on mobile, which I'll talk about in a sec why, we demand interaction from the user, because in return we will give them a very memorable experience. So why did we take away the human interaction that you would think is the new trend? We did that because there is an issue with the quality of the experience that companies can promise, because everyone has different preferences, and there's already a pretty fragmented market for that, where you can meet locals. But there's no solution for people who do not want to wait, who do not want to advance bulk, commit time, but they still want to do those local things, and they want to get that experience that otherwise they wouldn't have access to. So that's why we do it on mobile, and there's a lot of interesting technology that make it available now to create the experience that is very interactive. So now today what you can do is you can blend technology with real experiences to create an even amplified experience available for the customers. So that's why we created Like Locals, to leverage this technology to make memorable experiences for travelers.
Okay. So I'm going to pass to Zia, if I might call you like this. So not very far away, you created Velocity. It's an application to enrich travel and dining experiences. So could you tell us a bit more about it?
Sure. Thanks for having me. So we founded Velocity, as you say, not far away, although there is an English channel between us, but in London, which is where our headquarters is. We founded the company 4 years ago, and we launched Velocity Black, which is our flagship and only product at the moment, just under 2 years ago, coming up to our second anniversary. And we founded the company on the principle that it matters far more what you do than what you have. That, my observation, my personal story was, I'm a second generation immigrant. My parents are from Sri Lanka. I was born in the UK, studied at the LSE, and went into a career in finance, initially at Merrill Lynch and then at Goldman Sachs. And I was fascinated by the extraordinary concentration of human IQ and low-cost capital being spent on platforms like Xbox, PlayStation, Uber Eats, PlayStation, Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, all these things that, by the way, I love all of those things. I'm a customer of all of them except Xbox. But they're all really designed to give us pretty unfulfilling ways of spending our time in the short term. And I actually felt like, and this might sound like a really strange thing to say, but the premium consumer was being vastly under-delivered on when it came to experiences and travel in particular. So, you'll have to call someone and they'll be open 9 till 5 or whatever it may be. And I totally agree with that point that was just made about how individual we are. If you open your Netflix, and I presume everyone in this room, if anyone here doesn't have Netflix, let me know, because I'm pretty confident everyone does. If you open your Netflix and I open my home screen, it's like a window into your soul. So powerful is that recommendation engine. And there is no more powerful thing in my view than an experience that resonates, creating a memory. I binge watched 20 episodes or 24 in a row. It was great at the time. It didn't create an enduring and long-term memory. And so that's really what we founded the company on. And it's been fascinating just looking at the extraordinary appetite there is for it. We've grown from a standing start of 0 in terms of revenue and billings like 2 years ago to, I think in Q4 we're going to be this quarter will run rate more than $30 million of billings, probably around $15 million of net revenue. And we've booked 57,000 experiences for people around the world. And I'll just say one more thing as well, which just to echo that point, which I think is very relevant for people in this room. Because with status, with affluence, etc., obviously comes, well, not obviously necessarily, but I firmly believe comes a responsibility. And again, the power of an experience. So one really awesome moment for me as an entrepreneur happened a few months ago. I met one of our customers. He's a CEO of a company listed in the United States. Market cap's around $70 billion at the moment. And we took him on an experience with his wife to Sri Lanka to swim with blue whales with this amazing conservationist. And you actually swim up to, I've never done it, but I'd imagine swimming alongside a microchipping, the largest creature to ever live on this planet, is quite an experience. So powerful was it that he ended up going back and completely changing the environmental policy at his company. And that's no joke. That is a serious thing that happened. And it wasn't because there was some indoctrination or it was purely down to this experience and facing this creature up close. And so I just think that that's the way the world is moving, and that's really what luxury means in this day and age. So.
Okay. So we move on to Pasquale. And so your family's company, it's a luxury furniture brand. So how can you improve experience in a physical way?
Well, first of all, here I've been hearing about companies that were just ran and started recently. My family business has almost 60 years history. So our value proposition was made of our ability to transform the business in this triple revolution from a trademark to a consumer brand and to a lifestyle. So the mission of building a lifestyle is what I'm now focused on, which in the furniture industry and in the interior decoration industry is something where people are not really looking into and to build, because everybody's focused on doing a nice product or creating the utmost expensive one or collaborating with the most well-known architect or archistar. We are focusing on building a lifestyle made of our Italian lifestyle, Apulian lifestyle, Mediterranean lifestyle, which is in the south. Apulian is in the south of Italy. Maybe one of you came, somebody not, but I advise you to make a pop there. And so our way of building an experience is really in having a holistic approach to design and to this idea of Italian lifestyle, whether it's physical into the store or it's more intangible and aspirational throughout every kind of media and communication events. So my aim is to build a community of brand lovers, and to do so, it's not, of course, an easy challenge, but when it will come up, people, still brands still talk, companies think and talk about consumers, where I don't believe in that, because we should more be focused on people that might become consumers, and after then they will become people again. So it's about creating a community of people that will love the brand no matter the purchasing path or the idea of demand and offer, but more because they love it, and they love it because of its value selling proposition, but also because of its mission. And the Natuzzi mission is of leveraging on those 60 years of experience in taking any kind of inspiration from nature, architecture, beauty, and in Italy we've got tons of inspirations. So we are aiming to build a brand where harmony it's really the experience we want people to have. And of course stores and retail experience is going to be fundamental, but again any touch point we can build, both physical and non-physical, will be fundamental in leveraging everything that we believe can bring harmony to people's home.
Okay, great. So we're speaking about people, which is the focus of your what you do. How do you manage to fulfill the people's need or desire for experiences, for knowledge, and to visit?
Right. We focus very strongly on community building, just because for us to create the right content for our travelers, we need to learn from the locals. So we build communities in whichever city we enter. So our sort of focus is to build a strong and passionate community of, let's say, ambassadors of their cities. So then we take that content and package it for our explorers, we call them, in a way that will fulfill every need throughout their journey, so that they have the option to explore different areas in a city based on interest, specifically area, so that our goal is so that every user who comes on our platform will find, we call our core product footprint, I might have not mentioned that before, but will find a footprint for themselves that the product will make them feel as if they are walking with a local friend by their side, so that it should be so personalized to them that they will feel that this wasn't put together for everybody, this was specifically put together for them. So that's how we tried to do that. And our goal is that if you use like locals, you will create a memory, something as he mentioned, that you will remember that day, where you were, what you were doing, maybe even date or the weather. It will become so memorable that you return home with that experience, which you can then somehow implement in your life, whether you learned just something small or it built you as a person. So our goal is for every one of our walks to have that impact on your life.
Okay. And what about you? Do you exchange with your customers to know what they thought? How was their experience? How do you manage to measure what are you doing or how to do it?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really good question, and it's a real challenge, I think, in this day and age where, like, I'll give you an example. When my former career in finance, if I was going to a new city, let's say I was coming to Paris, right? You go online to look at reviews. The whole industry of reputation management for hospitality, for example, and travel providers is vast. I mean, it's almost as big as the actual TripAdvisors and Yelps of this world, right? Yeah. The Guardian newspaper in the United Kingdom managed to make a restaurant in Italy, right? Or, like a country that knows its food.
Yeah.
The best restaurant in Italy for, I think it was 11 weeks. It was completely fictitious. It didn't exist. Okay. Yeah. So the way we think about how we source this wisdom, I think, especially for the premium consumer, needed to change. That was our view. And so we gather feedback. We use conversational commerce. So, I mean, as an example, we have an annual fee of $2,800 US, 2,400 pounds at the moment. There's actually no telephone number to call us on, which was very controversial at the time. But we guarantee a response within a minute. You're going to be talking to someone within 60 seconds, all day, all night, every day of the year. Okay. And what the platform will do is, so if you go to a restaurant, let's say you go to Cost for dinner, and the next day in the afternoon, you'll actually get a message from one of our team actually saying, hey, Louisa will be saying, hey, how was the meal? Did you enjoy it? And the response is like, I mean, we were concerned, will people respond? Would it be intrusive? Our response rate is over 90%.
Okay.
because they know we actually care about their opinion. You know, we're not offering them a £10 Amazon voucher for half an hour of their time and insulting them, right? We actually care. But then very importantly, and this is where the technology comes in, the four of us could go and see a movie. This is a really obvious point, but I just don't think it's ever really been applied to things like experiences and travel and luxury in particular. The four of us could go and see a film, and I might adore it. You know, two of you might be ambivalent and one of you might hate it. The person who hates it is far more statistically likely to go and leave a review. The person who loves it is second, and the two who are ambivalent almost certainly not going to leave it. But here's the thing, it was the same movie. Right, so whose opinion matters more? And this is where similarity matrices, recommendation engines, things that have been nailed by companies like Amazon, companies like Netflix and Amazon Prime Video and stuff for many, many years, but just haven't come. So this is the point. You know, it's not necessarily about what the aggregate review is from 55,000 people is. It's about, is this going to resonate with you and your family? And it's been really interesting, you know, if you look at, for example, Airbnb experiences, one of the challenges, I think, I mean, it's been growing quickly, but I think one of the challenges is, look, if you're booking a tour in Napa Valley with your family, you know, the huge difference between experiences and travel versus items. If you buy something from Amazon and you didn't like it, one of the reasons they grew so quickly, you can return it, and they're awesome at letting you return it. You are never getting, if you go on a Napa Valley tour and it sucked, you can't return it. No matter how much money they come, you are never getting that holiday back. You're never getting that time back again. So the answer is yes, we absolutely gather that feedback, but we continue to try to innovate on how we can use that information in a really sophisticated and intelligent way, which is where technology can really help as well.
Okay. So speaking about challenges, for you, what's the challenge of the luxury industry right now?
Well, having a coherent, active interpretation of sustainability and environmental responsibility first. Okay. If you think that in a luxury tracking made out of 30,000 Chinese consumers, 84% of them is willing to make renewals and refurbishment of their apartment, whether it's living room, bathroom, dining room, kitchen, and 59% of them will exclude the use of plastics in their refurbishment, and 49 leather, which for us Natuzzi is not a great thing, but we're gonna face it somehow. And so that tells you how the biggest market of the world now, it's focused on that. Consumers, whether they're baby boomers or millennials, are taking sustainability as a thing. And the story about whales made me have goosebumps, and I'm very focused on it. I also sit in the board of directors of the Salone del Mobile, which is the biggest design fair in the world, based in Milan. And I'm leading the change in sustainability and eco-responsibility. So first, that. Secondly, being more, less, of course, yes, more experiential and less, one-of-a-kind driven, but more design-driven with an approach that should be, again, holistic in design. Many industries are taking design thinking as a real priority, and design thinking means making people's lives better by creating products, yes, that are meant to be functional and make the life better, not just to be good creations or yes, again, one of a kind assets. So I think that's also something that more in the fashion luxury industry they should change, because they have quarterly collections and it's all about being cool more than being effective in wearing people lives on a daily basis and making them better. So I know it's a big thing, but I think that luxury industry should take it more seriously. And they use, blending the past and the future, and leveraging the great use of technologies by giving a good interpretation of how the digital era, the digital wave it's coming, it's already there, and so surfing it, other than taking it as a tsunami, and leveraging on technologies to embedded technologies to again make some relevant and more innovative products. So using innovation not just as a nice keyword but interpreting it in creating products. So leveraging on technologies and in the luxury industry I see a lot of use and wasting of materials to create some products that can become luxury because of its price. But I think that there is no sense of, in some industries, in some other, yes, of course, but we should be more innovation driven and innovative. And I think that in the luxury industry, there is no big effort in that.
In the experiences you propose, do you take in consideration sustainability or innovation, or try to propose something that is cause awareness also?
Right. Since we're tourism, we really focus on the problem of mass travel. So you see it in Venice, for example, that mass tourism is not only bad for those cities, but it's bad for its residents and is driving them away. Like Airbnb, like I'm a personal fan, but just because Airbnb is coming to all cities all over the world, apartment prices are soaring and rental prices are over the roof, like especially in London, New York, Paris, I assume, that I don't know. But so mass tourism is a problem, and generally the small local businesses don't benefit so much from tourism because, when you travel, even though you claim that you are adventurous, you're experimental, you're going to try the local food, you still end up having Starbucks and coffee. Because you walk down the street, it's all over the place, you recognize it, you know the quality, you know what you will get for your money, and you go in there. You're somewhere for 2 days, here's a Starbucks, here is a local coffee shop. Are you going to take your chances? I wouldn't bet my money on it. Some people do, but still, local businesses often don't benefit so much from tourism as they should. So yes, in that sense, we are aware of that, and that's how we are trying to drive travelers to these local businesses, or at least to make them aware of what these are and where they are located and what they should be purchasing there. So we are actively partnering with local coffee shops, restaurants, even service providers to put them on our platform so that our travelers can have access to these places.
Okay. What about you? Is the same? Do you have a more, I don't know, we saw Camila this morning with the pharmacy that is a vegan restaurant. Do you have something like, okay, we try to choose restaurants that are more like linked to sustainability or have an innovative vision of dining?
So, one of the key things we solve for, I've always been fascinated by psychology, and for those of you, whether you're a professional psychologist or an amateur psychologist like me, something called the tyranny of choice is something worth thinking about, and it's something that's actually endemic within luxury. If you walk into an Hermès store, you walk into a Natuzzi store, it's quite different to walking into Primark, for example, right? And there's a lot of psychology behind that, because our brains, which are not that different from our ancestors a million years ago, are just not evolved to be able to process more than 3. The limit is 3. We can't really process more than 3 options at a time. We just mentioned Starbucks. It's the reason why those of you who go to Starbucks, you don't wander in, look up at the menu and order something different every time. You actually get a shot of cortisol every time that happens. So people, in my view, particularly the premium consumer, who work unbelievably hard, harder than ever, under more pressure than ever before, being asked to make decisions that impact the lives of sometimes millions of people. Yeah. The last thing they want to do is to spend unnecessary cognition on unnecessary decisions. So they want less choice, in my view, but more confidence in the choices that they're making. And things like sustainability and understanding the provenance. I mean, we launched luxury goods as a vertical on our platform 12 weeks ago. It's already a third of our volume in 12 weeks, okay. And questions like, is it authentic? Those are obvious questions that, people are not necessarily asking because they trust our platform. But questions like, was it sourced? Was the provenance of this product ethical? these are things that are so important now, and when somebody comes to our platform, that should just be taken as a given. So it's less the case that, we're certainly not here to dictate to people what dietary regime they want to be on, although of course if you're vegan or you're halal or you're kosher or vegetarian, our engine will actually optimize recommendations based on that. We'll never show you more than 3 things at a time, but it's actually a part of our checklist when we're onboarding a new supplier partner, is to ensure that it is unimpeachably ethically sourced, and if it isn't the case, it simply won't be on our platform, and that's what makes it easy for our customers to use our product.
Okay. So your role is to understand what the consumers want, what they might need, and so before launching a product, what is important? What do you see as important before launching something in the market?
Well, okay. Think about a trade show, a fair, a store, a venue, a fashion district, your living room, your closet. We are full of products. There's tons of products out there, and majority of them, they all look alike. So if you ask me, how do you perceive what the future or the latest trend, and how do you interpret it in the right way to create something meaningful and relevant for consumer, I would tell you, I don't know. I mean, of course, yes, Natuzzi is present in 121 countries. We have over 1,200 point of sales, 500 stores, and we can have a constant and daily basis interpretation of the demand. How is it evolving and changing? But the reality is that my focus is on creating stories, using creative minds and designers as storytellers, poets, that should give an interpretation to story we both agree on and see as a good story to tell, that then, interpreted by designers and creative minds, can become products that are made of stories. So being more storytelling driven is what will make the difference, because you will remember that story that is embedded in your product. So creating stories together with product, or created product that are made of stories. And of course, yes, if you think about the Archistar from the past, we believe those products are made of stories because there is a huge story behind it, but it's just a story, history. We're talking about stories, about storytelling as an incredible enhancement of the product itself. So I believe that this won't be about the latest trend, but more about the more meaningful stories.
So, like Locals is still a baby, but there's a bright future. So how are you planning to enrich your audience experiences? What's there in the future for you?
One step at a time. No, but jokes aside, we plan to move essentially to Europe's main cities, where most of our target group is traveling. And as I said before, we always start off with community building. So I think the key for us to scale is to build a passionate community of travelers who at one point are travelers and then they become locals, depending where they are located. And we're continuously in development. So I think once we finalized our product market fit, we are very close, but we still have a bit of way to see what's the perfect product, and we will we'll see in the future.
And what about Velocity Black? Is it on penetration? Is it on new products? Because I understand you managed to raise quite a huge amount of money, which is very impressive. So I think you might have great ideas for them.
Raising money isn't impressive. No. It's spending it in a sensible way and creating value. But yeah, look, you mentioned product market fit. We managed to hit that important point probably about a year ago. We're growing incredibly fast. It's such a pivotal time, I guess, for any company that's growing quickly, particularly when you're dealing with premium consumers in the luxury space, because frankly speaking, the last thing you want to do is grow so quickly that your original promise starts to fade and die, and that can happen very quickly, and it's happened before with other companies. So I'm very conscious of that. Where we're looking to grow, we really have built the goal was always to say, hey, here's one place you can come to that's with you all day, all night, every day of the year, which you can go to and ask us anything or browse curated items for you from many, many different verticals. So we can sell you a piece of furniture, we can help you refurbish your house, but we can also organize a restaurant or your holiday or whatever it might be. So over the next 12 months, it's really exciting, and most of it's been driven by inbounds from customers asking for this, but we're going to launch healthcare, we're going to launch automotive, we're going to launch real estate, and we're also looking at financial services, but healthcare is the one that's fascinating to me, because it's a holistic view of well-being. I mean, I'm a Chelsea fan, so there was a piece yesterday about Alvaro Morata, who I'm not sure how many of you are Chelsea fans, but he was a very expensive £70 million signing from Real Madrid, who did well initially, and then his career was starting to stutter, and he said he went to go and see a psychologist, and he said that there was so much stigma about that. He was petrified, people hearing about that. But actually, he said it completely turned him around. He's never been happier with his football, and you can see that in his, I think he scored 6 goals in 4 games or something in the last 4 games. And bringing people access from their mobile devices, from their voice-activated devices, to the world's leading cognitive therapy enhancers, to the world's leading therapists, to bringing them secondary care, the best of it around the world, and thinking about that customer relationship on a holistic view. Most of our growth, the vast majority of our growth has actually been driven by increasing what I call share of wallet and depth of commercial relationship with our customer, and that is directly related to how much they trust us. And that's what's so cool. When somebody trusts us to book a holiday for them, what we're seeing is they're actually going to trust us to organize some, help them find some furniture, or help them find a restaurant, or some new ski gear, or whatever it might be. So that's the way we are thinking about it. It's kind of doing what Amazon has done for the low margin mass segments, but for the premium segments.
Okay. And what about you? How do you envision the future of Natuzzi?
Well, always a look at the future and your eyes on the present. So my goal is to enrich Natuzzi with this lifestyle proposition. When I'll hopefully succeed in doing so, my idea is to really enlarge the platform of the Natuzzi world with hospitality and entertainment. So the idea of having Natuzzi hotels, Natuzzi cafe, Natuzzi restaurants is what I love to have fun with. And so I think it's kind of a coherent expansion. So hopefully I'll be leading that. If not, I hope my kids. But that's the idea.
So if someone has any question, I don't see it very much with the mic, but no? So thank you very much.